Pull over, now. 8 cartel vehicles surround the lone 18-wheeler on Interstate 40. They've been tracking this shipment for weeks. High-value electronics worth millions. Perfect for their smuggling operation. But trucker Big Jim doesn't pull over. He downshifts and prepares for war. What happens next will redefine everything you think you know about long-haul truckers. You're about to witness what happens when the wrong cartel targets the wrong truck driver. James Big Jim Morrison has been driving this route for 19 years. 68 years old, 300 pounds of weathered muscle, hands like steel from decades of handling heavy machinery. The cartel convoy forces him toward the truck stop at mile marker 247. Isolated location. No witnesses. Perfect place for a hijacking. Big Jim pulls into the truck stop and climbs down from his cab. 45 seconds. That's all it takes to turn a highway robbery into a cartel graveyard. 8 cartel members exit their vehicles, automatic weapons drawn. Their leader approaches Big Jim with the confidence of someone who's never met real resistance. "Old man, step away from the truck. This doesn't have to get messy." Big Jim looks at the cartel leader, then at the USMC Eagle, globe and anchor tattoo covering his right forearm, traditional Marine Corps emblem in bold black ink with Semper Fi clearly visible below the eagle. "Son," Big Jim says quietly, "it's already messy." First cartel member never sees the tire iron coming. Big Jim's swing connects with the side of his skull with the force of a sledgehammer. Down instantly. Big Jim moves like a freight train with a purpose. Every piece of truck stop equipment becomes a weapon in hands that once carried an M240 machine gun through the jungles of Vietnam. Second cartel gunman fires from behind a fuel pump. But Jim has already calculated the ballistics, using his truck's trailer as cover while positioning for counterattack. The fuel hose becomes a whip. 20 feet of high-pressure rubber that wraps around the gunman's throat like a python. One sharp jerk, crushed windpipe. Third and fourth cartel members realize they're not facing the trucker anymore. They're confronting something that understands warfare at a level they've never encountered. Big Jim vanishes behind the truck wash bay, emerging with a hydraulic jack that he wields like a medieval war hammer. 2 swings. 2 dead cartel members. Fifth cartel gunman tries to flank around the diesel pumps. Jim's waiting with a length of logging chain, 40 pounds of steel links that becomes a devastating weapon in experienced hands. The chain wraps around the gunman's weapon, disarming him instantly. Then Jim uses it for its intended purpose, crushing bones. Sixth and seventh cartel members panic, spraying bullets across the truck stop. But Jim has home field advantage in an environment he's navigated for 2 decades. He activates the truck wash system, creating a high-pressure water distraction while positioning for final assault. Diesel fuel pump becomes a club. Concrete parking block becomes ammunition. 8th cartel member, the leader, backs toward his SUV, screaming orders in Spanish. But Jim is already moving with the tactical precision of someone who once called in artillery strikes on enemy positions. The leader finds himself pinned against his vehicle by 300 pounds of Marine who hasn't forgotten how to end threats permanently. "Please, man, we'll leave. We'll never come back." Big Jim considers this for exactly 1 second, then demonstrates why Marine Force Recon veterans don't negotiate with terrorists. 8 cartel members. 45 seconds. 0 survivors to report back to their organization. Big Jim stands in the truck stop parking lot, breathing normally, covered in diesel fuel and blood. Like he just finished a routine fuel stop instead of conducting highway warfare. He climbs back into his cab, picks up his CB radio. "Breaker 19, this is Ghost Rider. Had some road pirates at mile marker 247. Won't be a problem anymore. Might want to send cleanup crew." But this story didn't start 45 seconds ago. It started 25 years earlier, the day Gunnery Sergeant James Morrison, USMC Force Recon, retired from active duty and got his commercial driver's license. For 22 years, Big Jim had served with Marine Force Reconnaissance in the deadliest environments on Earth: Vietnam, Beirut, Somalia, places where Marines went when conventional forces couldn't handle the mission. Jim had eliminated more high-value targets than most Marine units combined. But he'd also lost more friends than any man should have to bury. 25 years ago, Jim had wanted solitude, the peace of long highways instead of hostile territories, honest work that delivered goods instead of delivering death. The trucking industry offered that escape. For 19 years, Jim had been a perfect long-haul driver, reliable, professional, never caused trouble, delivered cargo across America with efficiency that impressed dispatchers who never wondered why he was so good at navigation and logistics. What they didn't know was that Jim's route planning came from military operations that required precise timing and tactical awareness. Until tonight, back to the present. Highway patrol arriving at what looks like a battlefield. 8 bodies, 1 survivor calmly checking his cargo manifest. Trooper Maria Santos surveys the carnage with growing amazement. "Sir, what happened here?" Big Jim secures his load straps, each movement economical and precise. "Cartel boys wanted my cargo. I disagreed with their business plan. This level of efficiency." "Sir, what's your background?" For 19 years, Jim has avoided this conversation. For 19 years, he's successfully hidden from skills that once made him America's most effective highway warrior. But there's no hiding now. "Marine Force Recon," he says simply. 22 years. Vietnam to Somalia. The words hit the highway like a convoy of tanks. Santos stares at the Marine tattoo she'd somehow never noticed during routine stops. "You're telling me that for 19 years, this highway has had a Force Recon Marine driving cargo?" "Former Marine," Jim corrects. "I'm a trucker now. I deliver goods instead of deliver justice." But tonight proved that sometimes the two jobs require the same skill set. 3 weeks later, Big Jim makes a decision that changes his retirement. He begins working with highway security agencies, teaching truck drivers how to recognize and respond to cartel operations. The work allows him to use his Marine expertise without returning to active combat. He keeps his trucking job, but he no longer feels the need to completely hide from skills that, used properly, can protect American commerce instead of eliminate foreign threats. Word spreads through the trucking community. Interstate 40 becomes known as the safest highway corridor in the Southwest, not because of increased patrols, but because everyone knows Big Jim is watching the road.